there's this popular statement about, women lie about rape so much. And my question is, how many times have rapists been put behind bars? For us to be talking about, we are accusing men of the common ordinary man who rapes is not behind bars. Our politicians are not behind bars.
My uncle is not behind bars.
So if you're talking about, ati sijui tunaekelea wanaume, because that is what they say, very many women want to see men failing. And I'm like, is it that we want to see men failing? Or is it that we just want accountability?
I remember coming out and calling out my rapist, which is my teacher. His name is Mr. Munyao.
Very nice. In bold.
Mr. Munyao. Bebe mimi nakwambianga mimi nikikushika mimi.
Kona mbaya tu hivi.
Kona mbaya.
Culture that should be like done away with is treating females as trophies to men. They're making females be in a space where wewe unajua ukikuwa mkubwa utakuwa bibi ya mtu. Who said I wanna be a wife? Unajua ukikuwa mkubwa lazima upike vizuri. Lazima ukue this type of a woman. Lazima ukue this type of a wife. And they don't tell the men, ukikuwa mkubwa you have to treat your wife right.
That's what she said.
Femicide has been an issue in Kenya, and for the last 120 days, over 120 women have been killed in Kenya. And this starts from how we navigate, these things in society, from how we have the conversations between men and women, our interactions daily, to the way we even order Ubers. In Kenya, we have Uber women, for women only, So today we are going to have that conversation. We are going to break the silence. We are going to talk about sexual assault. We are going to talk about rape. We are going to talk about misogyny and patriarchal structures as a whole. We are here to debunk it. Yes. I'm your lovely host, Wangare Maina. I'm a content creator and a brand influencer. But above all, I am a woman in Kenya. So let's get started. Kachunjo. We're going to have a lit conversation about it. So, Chivelle.
Hi, my name is Chivelle Rispa. I'm just a girl. I'm not an influencer, but I'm an activist in the making because there are things that people need to learn more about the femalehood and being a female and just being a woman in general.
How long have you been doing activism?
I actually just started the other day. During when we started training for the TWSS, I was like, yes, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to go.
So we've just arrived.
We've just arrived.
Chonjo, are we good? Anyways, there's someone on TikTok who said they take an Uber to set their makeup. Uber Boda. Do you feel like that was experienced today morning?
Let me tell you, I don't call it Uber Boda. It's called Uber Kabaridi. My hair was kila pahali and nothing was good at all. There's no setting of makeup there. There was nothing that was good in that piki. It was just a bad experience for me.
And it was really just like this. Tell yourself, calm down. Unasikia nervous. But anyways, it's going to be late.
It's going to be late.
Anyways, let's hear from our lovely lady, Tesoti. Hey, tell us who you are.
Hi guys, my name is Lauren Tesoti. I'm a content creator. Am I a content creator? I'm an activist. And I'm also probably part-time comedian, former actress. I'm just that. I'm Tesoti. I don't know. I am just Tesoti.
Just
because
Tesoti.
Someone will ask me who I am. I'll be like, I'm Tesoti. It just depends on what perception you have of me. Like,
or there's someone who could see you as an activist.
The other person will see me as a toxic woman on the internet because, I remember someone introduced me like the most toxic woman on the internet.
Hold up. How did you feel about that?
Nothing. Kwa sababu, I just say, the only thing I just did was saying how to revenge on men. And then the next thing, I'm the toxic woman on the internet. So when someone sees me, they're like, oh, unule demo family planning. Oh, unule mwenye alichoma passport ya chali yake. And I will do it again.
Yes. Unprovoked.
Anyways.
How asubuhi yako imekuwaje?
Morning has been great.
Baridi huku wewe, tuambie.
Had a lovely night. And my morning has been great.
Your morning has been great. And
it has been good.
We want to talk about, what has been happening in our country. the way women have been killed and not every, but we need to start somewhere. We need to start from, you know, the podcasts we listen to, whatever we do as women. And so I just want to ask, like, for you, Tesoti, when is the first time you felt, hey, as a woman in Kenya, I am not safe at all?
For me, it was when I was 8 years old, probably 8 or 7 years old. And, you know, where a teacher, someone who my mom trusted me with, was like, you know, was being creepy with my body. You know, this is someone who teaches you mathematics, English. This is someone who teaches you how to speak, how to talk. But then the next thing, they're touching you. But then I didn't know it was a bad thing. I didn't know. And then I think the trauma actually hit me when I was grown, that, oh, this certain person used to touch me so bad. And, you know, sometimes it usually takes time to progress such emotions, or it usually takes time to progress that someone did something bad to you. But then I feel like when I was 8, the teacher used to touch me so bad. And then when I tried to mention it, and you know, our African parents, when you try to mention that you have been touched by an older person, it will be like an embarrassment to them. So the first thing they do, they put you in like a car and they send you to the village. So anytime that thing happened, the first time that it happened, I was in like class 2. Then they sent me to Ngoliba to study in Ngoliba for 10 months.
Just a minute. Where is Ngoliba?
I think it's past Thika. It's like an approved school.
Okay.
It's like an approved school. So immediately I mentioned to my mom, okay, mom, mwalimu ananishikanga hivi na hivi. And then apparently there was a school, there was a project that was happening in the slums. You know, when you stay in the slums, they usually give you a lot of advantage, like sponsorship. There's some white people who come and sponsor you. They take you here and there. So it happened that there were people collecting bad behaved kids who have bad behavior in the society. So apparently I did have that bad behavior because where I was raised, my mom used to sell mangoes. So we used to be like, Uncle nisaidie 10 bob, Uncle nisaidie 10 bob. So apparently that news went to school. And when it went to school, ilipata time yenye saa mwalimu ananifanyia vitu, but the teacher did not rape me, but he would just touch me inappropriately. So this organization came to our school. They would go to slum schools. And then when they came to our school, they were like, okay, you know what? We are going to look for the most bad behaved student. We're going to look for them. And then we are going to put them, and then we take them to Ngoliba. So apparently I was put on the list because I was trying to mention that a certain teacher is trying to like put, you know, that time they would beat us with pipe.
Just a question. Who put you on the list?
The headmistress.
Okay.
So apparently, I know it's going to sound awkward and traumatizing. So the only thing that I did say to the teacher was like, utichana ningishanga pipe kwa susu. You
Wait.
know?
Hold up.
So,
Hold up.
yeah, it was that bad.
Pipe?
Ile green.
Ile kutandika mtu.
Yeah, you remember that green pipe, yeah, shule.
Wait.
So I remember I told the headmistress, okay, a certain teacher usually inserts pipe in my pussy, and then the headmistress was like, oh, you know, what do you think you have? You think you are that beautiful for such teacher to do that? And then, you know, those teachers, there are some men, they have that face, that innocent face that even if you point them out, someone will be like, oh no, they don't behave like that. Even when it comes to murder cases here in Kenya, the parent will come out and say, oh, my son has never been like this. So when it came to me pointing out to the teacher, they were like, okay, this teacher can never do such a thing. But I was like so quiet. So the next thing, while I was proceeding to class 3, the organization came, and then I was on the list. The next thing, tumewekwa kwa pick up kama cabbage. Yeah, we were seated behind.
Hold up. I just have to unbank the whole situation. this is an organization by Kenyans or by Caucasians?
It was like when I was there, some Caucasians used to come.
Okay.
So yeah, the next thing I remember, they took children from Huruma, Madare, Korokocho, Kariobangi, and then just in the slums, Kibera, and then they'd take us to they'd pick young 100 girls to that school.
Wait, was it girls only?
Girls only.
Okay.
So, and then even when we got there, there were even older women they were being put on probation who refused high school. The women who refused to continue with school, they were put there. So it was like a small jail for like young women. But then the school was like from pre-unit to class 6. And then you'd stay there for 10 months. So I was taken when I was in class 3, now when I was going to class 3. And then when we went there to class 3, we studied there for 10 months without even going out. Though it was a good school, it was quite good because these Caucasians would come most of the time and then they'd sit with us and then they'd go. And then these people would take care of us. And then every time they would, if, when someone is taking care of you, especially an African is taking care of you, they'll have to remind you each and every time that they are taking care of you. So it happened that these people, they're like, oh, you're here for free because that school, we didn't pay anything. The reason even why my mom decided for me to go is like, she was told that I have a bad behavior and Tesotica, she's a danger to other kids. So she has to go there and the school is free. So my mom was like, okay, I'm not going to pay school for the next 1 year. So let me just take her. So I went there. And then when I went there, I stayed there for 10 months and then I came back. But I went now to another school. And then to another school, then now it became such a rape case. Another teacher now started preying on me because obviously there are those teachers or there are those men who like see a young kid and then they're like, they get so hard. So this teacher now, after he raped me, I tried to call it out most of the time. But then after I did, I was sent to Ushago to go and study there. And then since then, I feel like mentally I've never been the same. And then, when I see on the internet where these alpha males, they usually say, if you want a woman who has a good sex drive, go for the women who have been assaulted or raped. So yeah, I usually feel like the world is not fair to other women.
So, first of all, that was a ride. But anyway,
I'm healed. I'm past that.
No, for us, hearing it is, how do I put it, is wild in itself. But anyways, that aside, let's go back to this teacher who told you that you have nothing important, for men to be preying on you. It's a she.
A she, definitely.
Male-centered women, yeah. But anyways, how do you feel that interaction with these women who are male-centered in the, in the teaching profession? How did that shape you? Did you get to see like, women also against women and what have you? Did you hold some type of resentment?
Yeah, I felt like even if a doctor even assaulted me, touched me inappropriately, I wouldn't even tell my mom that, okay, this person tried to touch me inappropriately, because they'd be like, what do you think you have? So as in most of the time, you know how women are, or older women are, to defend other men. And then they're like, you're the type of women who usually put blame on men. And then men go to jail for nothing. And then it puts you in a box where you're like so scared to even open up on anything. So far, even if I'm raped right now, I can't even speak up. Because now, you remember even on Twitter, a woman came out and she spoke up about her being raped. And then people were like, we want the other side of the story.
Of the story. And I'm like, what other side of the story?
Yeah, like, so most of the time, right now, as a Kenyan woman, it's so hard to open up about rape because people will be like, we want the other side of the story. Now you have to keep quiet about it. Because now if you want to tell this nigga, okay, give the other side of the story, the nigga will be like, okay, it was consensual between me and her. It went like this and that, like this and that. You get? And then I remember coming out and calling out my rapist, which is my teacher. His name is Mr. Munyao.
Very nice. In bold.
Mr. Munyao. Bedhe mimi nakwambianga mimi nikikushika mimi.
Kona mbaya tu hivi.
Kona mbaya. So I remember when I came out and called out Mr. Munyao. Mr. Munyao was like, mind you, that time I was like, kituka 12 years. And then Mr. Munyao was like, ni wewe ndio ulinitongoza.
You were 9.
True. You see, even like most pedophiles, if you watch their interviews, when they come out, they usually say, ni mimi nilitongoza na huyu mtoto.
Msichana alinikatia.
Alinikatia.
And I'm like, who is the adult?
And then you even remember a certain activist said, oh, right now younger women look way older than...
Just mention names. Morara Kebaso.
Morara said that young women look older. Sometimes you find the reason why you can prey on young women, it's because they look older. They don't look
They also
their
they
age.
look their age. He also said they are presenting themselves like women who are above the age of 18.
Exactly. So they usually come with that excuse, oh, you know, this and that. Oh, I was seduced. Oh, this kid looked like she was above 18 years old. And then I was like, okay, cool. And even if I looked above 18 years old, what age did you think that I was? And how old are you? Like recently when Shannon Sharp was exposed, he was exposed for being 54 years, f***ing a 19-year-old girl. You get what I'm saying? And then you're like, what do you have in common with this 19-year-old girl?
Where did you actually meet? For you guys to have common grounds.
I remember her too. You are a victim, yeah?
I am. Actually, it's kind of the same because the first time I knew I wasn't safe, I was also 9 and I was raped by my uncle, who's my mom's cousin.
So sorry.
But like, no one believed me because I was 9. So I feel like we're in the same bracket. But the thing is, he used to rape me and then he used to. So this was
Something
frequently,
continuous.
and I'm 9. So I tell my grandma, like, yo, your son is not doing justice to me. And she goes like, but you're the one who's seducing him. See? And
Wait,
see?
You were 9.
I was 9.
We shall get there. Anyways,
So like that goes on. And then one day I was just coming from school and I was like, nope, I'm not going back home because my grandma had traveled. So I'm left with him in the house for a whole week. What do you think I'm about to go through? I was like, I'm not going home. Get on a bus. I go home to our place now. My mom's not home, my dad. I find my aunt. And I'm telling my aunt, you know what? I can't stay over there. That man is just not enough. It's just, no, that's not a space where I can be. And I had to force my parents to take me to hospital. So that makes me feel like, I don't know, like the African mentality where you're the one who's seducing the person. I was just 9. I didn't know I was seducing the person, honestly. And I'm just trying to communicate how I'm feeling about this. And nobody had me. So I don't think I'll ever be safe anywhere. And I've not healed. I'm still in the place, but I don't think I'm almost at a place where I can say I've healed. If I get that person. Because he had invited me for his wedding.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wait.
Is he married or is about to be married?
He's about to be married. But he has 2 kids.
With someone else or the same woman?
The same woman.
Does this woman know the kind of person she's getting married to?
That I'm not aware because it went, like it's something that I told my mom and my mom was like, I'll tell your grandma. And my grandma knew. So I don't know if any of the siblings or the family, because even my older brothers don't know. And this is something I've told them before. I was like, but do you know that uncle raped me? And they're like, isn't story gani unasema hizo? So I don't know if they know. But like, I'll tell them one day.
Okay, is it that you'll tell them one day or they just dismiss you?
They dismiss it.
So meaning they actually know.
They actually know.
But they just don't want to give light. Oh,
I feel like
so hard.
I feel like maybe you are not the only victim because probably a lot of people came out about him maybe. And then they're hiding it. Or maybe, you know, there's some certain behavior when someone opens up, they're like, we're just used to it. This certain person is,
because of this mentality of he doesn't look like the person to do this type of thing. And I'm like, okay, how do criminals look like? Let's start there. Because does anyone ever walk around with a label? Yeah, I'm a criminal. Yeah, I look like a criminal. And this beauty privilege, you know, the other day I was having a conversation about it. And, you know, initially we think beauty privilege only affects women. until it is time to actually say that this is a rapist.
True.
This is a pedophile. Because people will be like, huyu ana sura ngumu, so anafanya hizi. I'm like, okay, explain it in a manner that can suggest I will understand it properly. But how does someone look like a criminal? Because you see, in both cases, you know, everyone was dismissing it, saying, huyu akai kufanya hivyo. This one, my son. Male-centered women. In fact, if you know you're a male-centered woman, you should be in the next clinic tying your tubes, but story for another day. Because the whole idea of, you know, my son cannot do that. You know, it must have been so hard for you to talk to a woman about these things, and the same women you're expecting to understand you dismiss you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
You know,
For this, Aki, we are here to listen to your stories. Please feel safe. Please feel safe.
it's okay.
Thank you. Please feel safe.
And that's what she said.
That's what she said.
So I feel like even when you say male-centered women, I've seen also online whereby, have you seen on these criminals when they usually release the mugshot or this person is noticed,
Cute.
this person is noticed to be a thief, this person is noticed to be a murderer, this person is noticed to be a pedophile. People are like, we can spare that. And you know, a lot of women on the comment section, they're like, this dude is too cute kukaa kwa jela. Like, you remember Joey? You remember? The comment section were wild. Like, it was so wild. They were excusing his mistakes for his looks. And then you're there, you're wondering, Kwani, what are these people looking at?
And just a question to the both of you. Let me start with Chevelle on the same issue. When you guys see people pardoning these people because, you know, they look cute and it's an experience both of you have gone through, and you know the nitty-gritties, you know, the crying in the pillow, the water view, how does that make you feel? Like when you scroll on social media and you see people pardoning these people, how do you guys feel about it?
I usually block, honestly.
I don't react to it because it's something that has been put in their mindset. Let me tell you something, like watu wamezoea hiyo kitu kufanyika. So you'll say he looks cute, but there's no way a criminal will walk around with a tag on him, I'm a criminal. Everyone looks good until they're bad. You can't judge someone by the face.
True.
And it's disgusting that people actually normalizing people for their looks. Mtu alikurape na anakaa vizuri, lakini he's a rapist. That's the ground.
He's a rapist.
The thing, we're not talking about the face. He's a rapist. He did that. That's his crime. So the cuteness for me, it's ew. It's ew.
Let me tell you, the first time I realized that women in Kenya are not safe, it was not even a major incident, but it was one of those incidences that has remained engraved in my brain. I was just developing boobs, and you know how painful that process is. Okay, I don't have very big boobs, but I mean, we all have boobs. And my boobs are growing. I was around 10, and I started my periods early because hormonal imbalance and what have you. So around that time, I stained my dress and my boobs were developing. So I didn't know. I was walking around the school compound. Like, okay, I am one of the few people who are lucky to have gone to a private school. So I was walking in the compound, and then it got to a point, Atisha talking about MBR, movement by running. So I started running, and then I bumped into a boy. Do you know what this boy said? This boy said, oh, you know, your boobs are too paki, unataka kunidunga. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do about it? I mean, they're just growing. Am I supposed to cut them, throw them away? And then I had it now back to the same experience. I hadn't noticed that I'd messed my, you know, my skirt. And then when I walked off from the whole scene, I was like, I'm not gonna, because I used to beat people in school. I'm not gonna lie, I used to beat people. You'll talk about me, nitavuka na nitakutandika bare. I used to beat people, ain't gonna lie. So I was like, today I don't have the energy for this, because one, I'm still new to the concept of cramps. I mean, it's you've just been a girl, you've been, you know, having fun, you've been playing, you don't even worry about how your panty looks like, and then boom, there's blood coming out, there are cramps come, you know, unasikia uchungu and what have you. So while I was walking away from this boy, he said, hey, ati huyu anakaa tu amerepiwa, ona tu amestain dress. I was like, say that again, one more time. I remember nilimuuma masikio.
Yesu Christ.
Yo, like, teachers had to pull me off this guy, because I was like, say it again to my face. You said it behind my back. Say it again to my face. I literally bit his ear. Nilimuma nikasema wewe no mkuja mnitoe because what is this then that day I sat down at home because my mom didn't know I had started my periods. So until I got home I was like, oh mom, so today I stained my dress. Teachers had to wash my dress and iron it, and then I was given some cotton like thing that was put in my panty. Then she was like, oh you said your period, but that was so early because I was in class 4. It was so early, man. So for me, I look back at that day and I'm like, how bad is it that even young boys are emulating some of these toxic things? Of course there are very many other experiences, but for me that was the very first, because we're just growing up. We're just kids, we're just girls, we're just growing up, and then boom, for a young boy to talk about rape like that, like,
no, funny enough, even if we take it to our homes, personally, as someone who grew up in a boys' family, because I'm the last born and the only girl in our family. So obviously, me growing up as the only girl in our family, it happened that when I was going through my adolescent stage, it's just that stage where you don't want a lot of things. You don't even want to talk. You don't even want to communicate with anyone. So when I got there, I had some attitude. Like my brothers would tell me something and then I'd roll my eyes. And then my brother would be like, uto tumatiti twenye umemendo tunakupea kiburi.
Even the way mothers tell you ati sasa unaona umemea matiti sasa tunaweza ongeleshana hivi.
You know what? African mothers.
we shall revisit. Because we need to revisit.
My brother used to tell me, uto tumatiti ndo unono niko naweza tuonyesha unadhani tumeona ngapi? And then you'd sit down and you'd be like, you're supposed to be my brother, not pointing at my boobs when I have an attitude.
And like, it's giving weird.
It's giving pedophilic.
Okay, no, before we jump there, how old was this guy?
My brother, yeah. I think he was way old. I think he was like 20-something.
Pedophilic, man.
But then, and then anytime, and then when you're on your adolescent stage, you'd be arguing with your parent back to back. So anytime you'd argue with your parent, they'd be like, oh, now that you're an adolescent, you think you can talk to anyone anyhow. Tumekupanguza mafi, unaweza tuambia nini?
These are the days that I'm actually grateful I went to boarding school all my life.
No, personally, I really wanted to go to boarding school because in boarding school I felt protected. But then also in boarding school, there were female teachers who were like, they were like awkward. Because I remember that when I was in class 8, I used to want a dude called Njuki also too. It's Adole too. So obviously I was crushing on a boy called Njuki. And then one time I went home, and going home I came back, and then we used to have a pit latrine. So apparently I got a UTI, or is it a yeast or what? But then I didn't have sex by that time. I didn't know what sex is. And I would go to the catress and tell the catress, oh, catress, you know what? I really want to go to the hospital. And then the next thing the catress was like, oh, I think you're pregnant. And I was not. I was just in class 8. So even the females, I think most of them, they're involved in such things. Then
now that you mentioned it, let's actually get into it. Because you see, we are not dealing with a bigger issue on hand. We are dealing with femicide. But my question is, where does this start? Let's start now with the culture. And you see, for me, it's a different experience because, again, but you're a last born. How are they treating the last born? Anyways, I am a firstborn girl, the firstborn female in my family. From my dad's side, I'm the first cousin. Yes, first female cousin. I'm the first person to graduate. So there's a lot of expectation over me. But let's talk about the way these people view girls. Let's start in high school. I went to a high school called Moi Girls Senior, and back in the day, we used to be told we need to wear. I don't know whether your schools had this rule where you will mnafaa mnunue briar white and white panties or black panties because you're going to seduce male teachers. I don't know whether you guys had, because us we had that rule. Let's start here. I feel like in Kenya people don't know what statutory rape is. Anyone below the age of 18 cannot consent to sex. So you can't come forward and say someone below 18 seduced you. Are you not the adult in the setup? So as an adult, why are you not applying your logic? Kenyans, it's high time we wake up from that. So we used to be told, oh, we buy white bras and white panties and black panties and black bras. And to a point, they actually banned black bras because, I mean, we used to wear white shirts because we are seducing male teachers. And let's start there. Let's start with this, actually, let's start with male-centered women because I feel like everything rises and falls with male-centered women. We'll get to the men shortly, like it is somewhere here. But let's start with these male-centered women, from teachers to school nurses. School nurses, we shall revisit, to school nurses, to, even mothers. Our caterers, to our mothers. Let's start here. Because you see, in Chevelle's case, you told your grandmother, your paternal grandmother, someone who's supposed to protect you, that this and this was happening, but she did not validate you. In your case, you told your mom, someone who gave birth to you, not told your mom, she saw it happening from your brothers, and she did not validate it. So let's start there. How do you feel we need to, how do you feel like that comes about? A point where women can actively defend rapists, pedophiles, and other crime lords, for lack of a better word, when it comes to women cases. How do you feel like society has enabled us to get there? Let me give you guys, a background of what I'm saying. Let's start with the way women are raised in Kenya. All the time you're told, oh, ule mwenye atakuoa, the person who will marry you is in campus right now. At the time unaambiwa hivyo, you're in class 8 or probably class 4, class 5. I don't know whether you guys have experienced that.
No, I have.
The whole thing of ukienda kwa bwanako, this is what you'll be doing. The way you're seated, even utakuwa unakaa kwa bwanako.
No, I feel like in school they would tell the boys, stop hanging out with these girls. Your girlfriends are in class 1, class 2.
Or not.
These are old women.
These are not your type.
Your girlfriends are not yet born. And I think that usually encourages pedophilia because this class 8 boy will be looking at this class 2 girl, will be looking at this class 1 girl and be like, this is my wife. My teacher told me that these other women I'm seated at the same class with, they're not my type. My wife is in class 1. My wife is in class 2. Because they'll be like, these women, they'll get out of here and then they'll go and be prostitutes. Your wife is in class 2. Your wife is in class 1. And then I'm like, do you know you are encouraging pedophilia? And I would see something like that. And then I'd be like, there's something about you and I don't know. And the same teacher who will tell and then, there's this culture in Kenya which encourages pedophilia where teachers marry students. Immediately they're done with
I have cousins. I have uncles in my family. I'm not going to mention names.
Classmate.
But I have an uncle I don't talk to because of that. Because, hey,
they're usually immediately a student is done in Form 4 and they have not even legally taken an ID. They usually marry a student. I'm like, what's wrong with you? So I have an uncle. I'm not going to mention names. If the shoe fits, Cinderella wear it. But he had a wife of the same, they were around the same age bracket. This wife gave him 2 girls. You know the African culture where girls are just a substandard. You're not the required offspring. So he wanted a boy. Tell me why a whole high school teacher slept with his student until date they are married. Yani, that dynamic pisses me off. Because I'm like, hey, you just looked at your student in class and you're like, this is going to be my wife. Yeah.
Do you know, I have a hard time speaking to him. I'm sorry to say. Okay,
they're still together.
They're still together.
For how long?
Should be 30-something years, but they're still together.
And then, the woman will convince herself, it was love. It was love.
And it starts and falls on whatever you just said. And the whole thing, okay, right now we are around 22 to 28, this age bracket of women. Women in their 30s and 40s have received strays. They've been called old, they've been called spoilt goods.
True.
We are getting there. But anyways, it gets to a point, I don't know whether you guys have seen these videos on TikTok where now Gen Z men around the same age as us are calling us spoilt goods. I don't know. Musa and the likes, you saw that video?
Nah, I feel like also talking about that, there are usually some people, not only rape happens to women also, and pedophilia happens to women also, it also happens to men because I saw someone on TikTok saying that as a grown man, why are you raped? As a grown man, why are you, you're supposed to turn around and do that thing to the, you're not even supposed to speak up about it. Women are supposed to be raped, not men. And I was like,
And I'm like, I saw that video. I don't know, have you seen that video?
No, I haven't seen it.
So, backstory, a creator came on TikTok and asked, as a man, okay, let me just say whatever you say, wanaume unarepiwa aje? Unajua kurepiwa ni ya madem. So, when I heard that, first of all, these are two issues in one. One, this is undermining men who've been raped. This is also speaking about the whole societal expectation that women are the ones
supposed to
be raped. And I was like, so who set it as a standard for women, to be the disposable goods? Because, I mean, since time immemorial, it's okay to accept that women have been spoils of war. Because, and I feel that is where this whole issue starts. I feel like we have been spoils of war for far too long, to a point whereby people don't see rape or sexual assault towards women as an issue. And you see, still on the same platform, still on the same TikTok, every time high schoolers come back, from school to home, you'll always see them in the comment section talking about,
Miaka ni
kamiti
ngapi?
ni 35.
35.
Miaka ni ngapi? Miaka ni 30. Hii nitatoboa. Miaka 30 peke. That is what people always say.
We have encouraged pedophilia as a country. That's why it leads to femicide too. Because someone says that, I'm sorry to say this. I'm really sorry to say this. They usually say, immediately a man slaps you once, try and slap them back or beat them. So that the next time they'll ever do that, if he's the one to walk away, he will walk away. He'll be like, I can't deal with that woman. That's a toxic woman. And then the ones who stay, they're like, you know what? Maybe I can try and handle her anger, and then I'll never touch her again. If I beat, I'll never touch her again. That's why they usually say, if you can't beat a man as a woman, even the weakest man on earth will beat you.
Do you remember the My Dress, My Choice?
Yeah.
So, for our international audience who don't know what My Dress, My Choice is, there's a certain time in the Kenyan, history where a woman was assaulted because she wore a short skirt in a PSV vehicle. So people started this trend of My Dress, My Choice, that no matter what I'm adorned in, you should not look at me from the lens of a rapist. And let me tell you, that was such an insane time, man. Let's actually look about that. Was such an insane time.
You couldn't even wear a miniskirt, because anytime you'd wear a miniskirt or a crop top, they will strip you naked in CBD, even in CBD.
And in the name of instilling discipline. Like,
and it was so bad.
You get to a point where, and you just lack words, because first of all, why is it always about the victim? Because now we've identified that our socialization since when we are young, from young boys to the way girls are socialized, is so male identified. It's so centered around men and pedophilia. Actually, it's actually centered around pedophilia, to a point whereby we are even trying to think about. Kwanza, I remember during the time of My Dress, My Choice, people were talking about, let's think like a rapist for 2 seconds and see what they look for. And I'm like, hey, okay. The whole idea behind what are you dressing, ulukumeva nini, is around rapist aliona nini. And you see, the moment you start thinking you can place yourself in the shoes of a rapist, you are a rape apologist. That is rape apology.
For me, I usually say I would rather defend a victim first than defend the rapist. Because in as much as the victim is saying, okay, I was raped, and the rapist is like, okay, I didn't rape her, it was consensual. Before it comes to light, I would rather say I stood with the victim. As much as they lied, I'd rather stand.
It is easier to say sorry that, yes, we stood with someone who lied about, being raped, than actually not standing with her and then finding out that it actually happened. Let's talk about, there's this popular statement, and I want you to contribute about it. There's this popular statement about, women lie about rape so much. And my question is, how many times have rapists been put behind bars? For us to be talking about, we are accusing men of rape. I mean, the common ordinary man who rapes is not behind bars. Our politicians are not behind bars.
My uncle is not behind bars.
So if you're talking about, ati sijui tunaekelea wanaume, because that is what they say, very many women want to see men failing. And I'm like, is it that we want to see men failing? Or is it that we just want accountability? How do you feel about that statement?
It's work. Because there's no way you'll tell me. As in, it makes sense. How will you tell me that? Kasirisha. Because what are we saying? Like, you can't be the female and you're the one who's still against the same female. Like, seriously. Like,
And hey,
I feel like when it comes to that,
wacha tucheke tu. Because this is rage.
when it comes, you remember that time when we were advocating for femicide to be stopped? You remember that time?
The femicide march.
And the femicide
first
march.
one.
You remember that time where people were trolling us talking about statistics shows even men are more scared of other men.
Maybe what vexed me about that conversation is even men are killed, even men are done this for. And I was like, there's someone I asked in my comment, I don't know, I made a whole video and I was like, okay, fine, yes, even the men are being raped, yes, even the men are being killed.
And
by
who is doing them?
who is doing
Who
it?
is doing that?
I mean, statistics show that. I remember that time when I did the research, 81% of violent crimes in total, from murder to homicide to robbery to whatever, are being committed by the male gender.
You know, you remember there was also this case where there was like a bear versus a man. And then us women were like, we're picking a bear, we're picking a bear, we're picking a bear, we're picking a bear. And then now it changed. Now we asked men, between a bear and P. Diddy, what are you picking? And men picked the bear.
Why?
Why not Diddy?
Why not? No, you are busy validating us, telling us, we are emotional creatures. We are picking, how can we pick a bear over a man? Why are you picking P. Diddy?
Why?
So, and I came to realize these people actually understand the extent of sexual assault. But when it is phrased around the male circumference, around beyond that, we don't care. You Taurus, chonjo, kainu kona shida zenyu. Yeah, it was nice having you. And let's actually now get into the work that I feel like we need to be doing, yeah? So let's start from our culture. How do you feel like that shapes, the active pedophilia, the active GBV, the active femicide, the active, sexual assault? How do you feel like our culture provides, do I call it the grooming grounds, provides the ground to foster these crimes? Because they're crimes, yeah.
The culture that should be like done away with is treating females as trophies to men. They're making females be in a space where wewe unajua ukikuwa mkubwa utakuwa bibi ya mtu. Who said I wanna be a wife? Unajua ukikuwa mkubwa lazima upike vizuri. Lazima ukue this type of a woman. Lazima ukue this type of a wife. And they don't tell the men, ukikuwa mkubwa, you have to treat your wife right. They just say, you need to be a man in the relationship. You need to be a husband. You need to be a this. You don't need to be a good husband. They leave out the good things and just tell them, you need to be. You need to be. You don't need to be. They let the men just be whatever they want to be as long as they fit the shoe. Like, we kwa tu bwana mzuri, sawa? We mpige, lakini we ni bwana mzuri.
Bwana mzuri ni kuprovide. Beyond that,
nothing.
You are providing.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
They forget everything else. You put you aside kabisa. And also, I feel like the education system where they tell a student, where your type is in class 2. Why? Why were we in the same class if your wife is in grade 1? You're in class 8, your wife is in grade... How? Then you'll turn 52 and you're trying to explain to me why you're dating an 18-year-old girl. Why? Yeah.
Okay. For me, I feel like a lot of traditions they usually tend to hide rapists and pedophiles. And actually, yeah, because anytime you try to call them out, our culture usually hides them. Or in case you send them to jail, in case you send one rapist or one pedophile to jail, the society will hate you for that. They'd be like, oh, huyu alituma baba ya mtu jela. You know? And then most of our cultures, they usually don't allow men to take responsibility for their mistakes. And it usually hurts. There are usually some cultures which are so backwards. They think like if you have your period, you're ready to be a wife. You're ready to have kids. And then marrying off young girls to older men. Like, just leave these young girls alone. Leave these young girls alone. Like, stop it. When you marry off this young girl to an old man, this young girl does not even know anything. Any moment you see this woman, she's cramping, she's having a bit of periods. Now, I remember when I had my period, they would tell me, ahuache, oh, mekua. You have grown. When I had my period, my grandma was like, wachea wuta, na msata amaite na kubukule. Now she was like, oh, now that you're grown, a man will come and pick you and marry you because now you have started your period. Like, let's normalize periods being periods, not a marital status. Maybe you should just normalize kids being kids at the moment.
I have several points on the issue. One, I feel like we avoid education. Okay, most of us are educated. Most of us sat in a class somewhere and were taught. But we avoid education in the fact whereby we blame childbearing, whatever kind of, anything and everything around that sect, we fully blame it on women. Is it that we lack, we are just oblivious when it comes to education? Two, the whole identity around, being cultured for someone, like for girls. I've had it most of the times. You're going to be someone's wife. I have the option not to. I have the option to exist alone. I mean, I'm going to be, what do they say? We're going to be 50 with a lot of cats. I'm free to do that. I mean, it's my life. If I want to have 65 cats, I will have 65 cats. I mean, having cats is not even a problem. I'm a cat person. So what's the issue? But anyways, I'm going to have 65 cats. So the whole, where our culture fails us is that we are always prepared for an imaginary man. And girls are not given the same level of grace men are given. Men are allowed to have mistakes. Men are allowed to blunder. Girls are not allowed to blunder. Look at the whole shaming women for, being single mothers, shaming women for giving birth early, shaming women,
also shaming women for being cheated on.
Like, there's someone who on TikTok who said, and I fully agree with whatever she said, is that there's never a right age for women to do anything. The right age is when you are a man. Because, when you're 30 when you're 30, that's when the money is now getting into your pockets nicely. You don't want to have kids, it's an issue. Okay. When you get married and then you don't want to stay in an abusive marriage, it's an issue. So can we stop? Alafu culture appear now, still on the same point. This thing of older women advising younger women to stay in their marriages, to, be submissive to their husbands, to, do these things. Hey.
I know he hates you, but he loves you.
Yeah,
he loves you.
It's a little disciplining. First of all, when did we get to this point whereby men are the ones who are doing the teaching and then women are to be taught? I can also teach you something. I'm knowledgeable in certain issues here and there. So the whole culture that women cannot be logical beings. In fact, let's start with this stereotype of women are emotional beings. We're all human beings. If you are not an emotional person, you are a psychopath. For lack of a better word, you are a psychopath. If you cannot explore your... And you see, I don't know why people group feminine emotions and masculine emotions. Because you see, men have no issue expressing anger. People have no issue expressing anger. Because anger is an emotion. Mm-hmm. But the moment we start bringing in crying, and this is where the stereotypes begin. I feel actually everything is wired around how we view. Our culture is wired around how women navigate. You see, if women cry, that's being emotional. But when a man is angry and punches the wall and throws
He's
TV
just-
outside. He was.
He's just a man.
He's just a man.
He was
So,
just mad.
I feel like women are allowed not to make mistakes. You are supposed to be like this. And another thing, women do not mature faster. Women are just held to accountability earlier.
True.
There is a difference. We are held to accountability. We are not given room to mess. A man can mess up. He can have 5 baby mamas, but you know what? He's still a good man.
He's a
What
man.
were you doing having 5 baby mamas? But once a woman is a baby mama,
Single mother.
used goods. There's something you said, and it rises and falls on viewing women as commodities. It rises and falls on viewing women as things we can transact. You know, shika ngombe, leta ngombe, shika bibi. Leta nini? Guys, really? Really? Really?
They usually say aibu kwa msichana, sifa kwa mwanaume. You as a woman just come out and say, oh, I usually sleep around with other people. Let me tell you, the disgrace that you'll get, it's beyond words. And then let a man come and talk and they're like, oh, you know, I slept with this woman, I slept with that woman, They'll receive praise from here and there.
Because apparently he has experience.
So I'm like, wow, okay. And this thing whereby they put us in a box whereby anything you speak that you feel like you're going to defend someone, they call you weird names. Oh, when a man decides to stand up for women, they're usually men who stand up for women. We appreciate you for that. And then other men, they usually say, oh, she thinks she's going to f them all. She thinks that she'll get a chance in women's conference. It's usually so draining and distracting because when someone decides to stand up for women, it's actually so bad. Also, people telling you to be in your feminine energy.
What is feminine energy?
But,
Let's start there.
but you're being called an angry black woman. Oh, you're supposed to be feminine. A feminine woman's supposed to do this. A feminine woman is supposed to do this. And then the next thing, the man who you gave birth to, a black man like you, goes to the microphone and says, black women are the most angriest women in the world.
Uncultured.
Ghetto.
Mm.
So they usually, we are known worldwide as angry black women. That's why when someone tells me, oh, you should be feminine a bit, you know, when I used to smoke, someone was like, you know, smoking is masculine. It's not feminine for you as a woman. And then I was like, what makes me feminine as a black woman?
Because that you've actually mentioned
because literally
gender roles.
There are some men actually who call themselves women. What makes them feminine than me? Because I remember there's a podcaster said that men actually right now act more feminine because women don't want to act feminine.
But is it really an issue? Because I mean, when we are talking about, you know, culture and wiring up and the way we view some emotions as feminine, some emotions as masculine, do we exist as a monolith? Because I feel like that really informs who we are. We are expected to live as a monolith. What is the issue with a man being feminine? What is the issue? Because once we start having these stereotypes, that's when we'll also, believe it or not, it will build up to that stereotype of women are the only ones supposed to be raped. So what is the issue with someone? Because I mean, we have metrosexual men. And that is who they are. And wako tu hivyo, and that's okay, and that's fine. When did we start saying, oh, doing this is masculine, doing this is feminine? Can people just do what they want to do? So we've talked about all these things, and the underlying base ground is that patriarchy and misogyny just inform what we are having today. That is the big umbrella, which is femicide. So let's talk about gender-based violence, you know, because I feel like we hear GBV and we're like, okay, yeah, GBV is bad, but we don't really give it the light of day that is required. So how do you feel, for you, Chevelle, how do you feel, you know, all these things shape up DV domestic violence in our homes, in churches, in, any institution? How do you feel these things shape up and they come across and manifest as domestic violence?
I feel like domestic violence starts from the thought. It's only it's yani hapo ndo inaanza. That's the ground. You find that you won't start beating someone just ukimwona hivi mi nimeamka tu nimeanza kupiga. It's a thought that came into my head. And how did the thought come in? Because we were raised to believe that they were supposed to be dominators and us were supposed to be submissive, right? And then you find it like in our churches, in our homes, you'll find like your dad is like, mi ndakupiga wewe. Your brother is already telling you, mi ndakupiga. And in a female kind of mindset, you'll be like, kwani mi kazi yangu nafaa tu kupigwa? And then you're grown, you're married, or in your whatever relationship you're in, and then this guy is like, mi ndakupiga, and you're like, oh, I was told that before, kazi yangu ni kupigwa. And then you'll be hit, and now it's now a problem. It's been put in our mindsets to, like, we're supposed to be submissive in a certain ground, and the males are supposed to be dominant. And it's something that's it's just in the mindset. Ukishafikiria utanipiga bari, like, obviously you'll hit me, and why am I staying in the same space anymore?
Okay, now back to the staying in the same space. Do you feel it's more or less staying in the same space that you're, ulizoea from home? Or is it the stigma that, we are not used to women walking out?
It's the stigma. We're not used. It's the African mentality that I had mentioned before. It's the stigma. You are raised to become a woman in a man's house. You are not raised to walk away from your man's house. It's this. We've been put in that box where you are supposed to be loved and provided for. Anakupiga, lakini he provides. You need to stay over there. It's something that is inculcated. It's just put in our heads. We're just raised to believe we're supposed to be in the same space. The man will hit you, but you need to stay. It's the same mothers who'll raise you to tell you, when a man does this, mbona umevaa hivyo? Unja babaka akikuona hivyo, and then you'll be in your own house. Then your man will be like, mimi niliambiwa nafaa kukaa hivi. Then now it's in your mindset that you need to be in the same space. So it's stigma. When you leave, you're failing the matriarchy. You're failing the system. You're getting out too much. You need to be in the same place where your ancestors, your mom, your sisters have been.
Now, how is that different for us who, okay, first of all, thank the Lord we have financial freedom as we can achieve that as women. Man, thank the Lord. But how do you feel that informs domestic violence victims? Because I feel like most of the time when we tackle domestic violence, you find out that they were financially dependent on the guy. How do you feel that comes across in domestic violence as a whole?
Domestic violence comes in many forms, and that's the financial way that someone will financially deprive you of things for you to stay there. Like the person will give you a certain amount that he knows you'll always come back begging for the same amount over and over and over again, making you want to be there more. The person will hit you, but at the end of the day, you are chasing the bag and you need to stay there. It's been put in our mindset that we need to stay there. So it's just a build-up. It's just a pyramid we're on. Like, I'll give you this for you to do this, but when I do this, remember I'm giving you that. Exactly.
I feel like domestic violence is a collateral for providing for us. I'm providing for you, so I should do whatever I want. And I feel like that is the harm of raising boys and men to believe that marriage is a reward. Look at even the way they navigate life. Oh, I have a wife somewhere. So as long as I'm providing, I'm free to do anything that I want, because, okay, let's actually look at the other side of the coin. There are women who are providers in their homes. They are the breadwinners. But at the same time, wanatandikwa na mabwana zao, and they still stay because, the overall expectation of a woman is that the man should be providing. So that void inakuanga ile shika ulipe, useme ni ulilipa. But then the man is abusive to the woman. Do you feel it's more or less the man is not fulfilling, or do you feel it's just like domestic violence has been normalized to a point whereby if a man does it, it's okay?
I feel like domestic violence actually comes both ways. Yeah? From a female and from a male. Where I grew up, women beat men. Very bad. And also where I grew up, men beat women very bad. domestic violence is so normalized in Kenya or in African society that even when a man is put on clock, or probably when a man is put in a position to like take accountability, or when a man is taking care of their wife, they usually feel like the woman is beating the man, or they usually feel like, oh, the man actually is being treated in certain way by this woman, and it's in a cruelty. The world is so cruel, and Africa is so cruel to some people, because domestic violence, people people usually use domestic violence as a discipline. I remember this a Nigerian actor came out and said, anytime Manchester United lost a game, the man would come and raise his anger at her, beat her mercilessly. Till today, she has trauma watching even Manchester United. Even like she sees someone wearing a Manchester jersey, they usually get traumatized because she remembers the beating she got. So I feel like domestic violence is actually from the mentality, because someone, ini kitu yenye umefikiria kwanza kitambo, ini kitu yenye sometimes mtu anakupiganga once kuona kama utarespond, anakupiga tu like pa, ukirespond, then they know their lane. They'll know if they have to walk out and look for other people to beat, or they'll have to stay there to see if you guys can fight every time. So, and then also us as African women, we have normalized to like especially our African mothers, we have normalized to defend our sons. You know, immediately our sons beat their wives, we usually blame the wife. We're like, instead of going to our sons and approach them and tell them, hey, whatever you're doing is wrong, stop doing that, or just let this woman go. Immediately we are going to the woman, the wife, and we're like, what did you do wrong? Why did he beat you? You know, a man can't just wake up on a random day and beat you out of nowhere. What did you do wrong? It's usually us, even our mothers, they are used to be beaten so bad. Even they feel like you will handle marriage when you are being beaten. You know, even when you cook wrong. I remember there was one time I cooked food for my mom, and the ugali turned out so loose. And she was like, is this how you'll cook for your husband? Your husband will be beating you when you're cooking like this, with those nails that you put on your hands. And then I was like, you know what? Probably I could have told her something bad, but I thought something, and then I just kept quiet. Because anything you do wrong, they'd be like, utakuwa unapigwa juu ya hii. A good example, when Rona was being, beaten, assaulted, someone told her, no wonder this person beated you. It usually hurts because you can't even say anything. Even when you sit around women, or you might be, here's one thing, as an African woman, you might be a successful doctor, you might be a successful lawyer, you might be a successful woman, but then as long your husband is a reflection of you. You can't even speak in front of people if your husband beats you. They're like, what is this woman saying? Yet her husband beats her. She has education, yet her husband beats her. She has this, but her husband beats her. As in, it's usually, like domestic violence, it's usually so enrooted in us. But then they usually say when a man beats you, they're jealous, or because they're teaching you a lesson. And it's usually draining most of the time.
All I'm going to say is that everything around domestic violence in the new world is wired around colonialism, and it is not a story we are ready for. We're going to discuss that on a later date. But still on the topic of domestic violence. We have an expert on board. You girls will be. I am so happy to meet her. I'm very happy to meet her. She's an expert on these issues. She deals with these issues daily. I am proud of her. She doesn't know it. She's a stranger to me, but I am so proud of her. And we're going to bring her on board. It's a surprise. You won't know who. Yeah. So just stay tuned to know who it is.
Hold up.
Yeah.
That's what she said.